Hello there everybody, Palermo 10,000 here, bringing you another episode of Mag Mammal 2. This is episode 48, I'd like to say, and... oh look, it's Ace Spark's favourite. 8th place, Strife's Launch Man and Shuttle Man. Score 42.0, 41, 40, 41, 40, 48, Ace Spark's favourite, and also the first stage where every score is 40 or above. And it's got 1 energy element and 5 noble nickels. This was one of the stages that I have beaten in a past recording that failed, and I really love that little animation of the favourite that pops up there. It's so adorable. Let's do this! Alright, this is actually a really cool stage. I really like this one. So basically, it's launch and shuttle because that's basically it. It's a launch and shuttle stage. So first things first, we want to head down here. This is going to take us to one of the noble nickels. But we will have to kill ourselves after we've obtained the noble nickel, because there's actually a second noble nickel that we can only obtain by going a different way, which isn't the most fun design choice, but it's interesting. Alright. Noble nickel number 1 obtained, and now I'm just gonna blow myself up. So, you'd end up going up the right side of the wall there, and it would take you up to an area that I'm going to show you in a moment. But now we're going to go and get the other noble nickel that we can't get on that path. So, yeah, it's pretty obvious. I played the stage. I know how this stage goes. There is 1 or 2 moments from the original recording that I might splice in. Although the audio is going to be a complete mess in those splices, because there were a few things I want to actually react to. So we might see that. Here's the other noble nickel, just kind of sitting in plain sight. This one just felt like a bit of a wasted nickel, to be perfectly candid. Like, oh, we need to get 5 noble nickels, let's put it in there. Whereas it just kind of felt like it was a gimme. Wasn't the biggest fan of that placement. Really love that you can just see the wily ship from behind, and it actually moves with us rather than on its own. So it's like we're actually trying to keep up with it, which is really cool. I just like that sort of feeling, you know? And we've got missiles everywhere, because we are going through Nam, apparently. It's pretty intense. We head up here, though, and we get to an auto-scroll segment. What? Yeah, we get to a really interesting auto-scroll segment. This auto-scroll segment is very special because it is an auto-scroll while we're trying to keep up with this shuttle, which is really unique and interesting. And then we get that noble nickel, and I'm gonna use an E-tank so I don't die, and there we go. And that's part 1 of the stage done. We're now heading up to the main portion of the stage. And it's time for a boss fight. Let's go. So this guy is actually pretty unique. I really love this guy's boss design. He looks just really cool. Really interesting design, just very unique. As long as you stay kind of in the middle of him, he's not really that dangerous in the slightest. Pretty easy boss to defeat, but pretty interesting as well. Now here's where the fun part starts, because if you go down this ladder, which you need to do first if you want all the noble nickels, oh boy. This is something that I'm gonna need to splice in my original reaction to. So, this is Dennis. Yes, he's not just a Met. He is many different Mets. He is all the Mets. Every time you kill him, a different Met spawns. It's great. And then if you get the Slash Claw, you get this lovely little eulogy to Dennis. Day 7. Dr. Wily still has not noticed me. Unbeknownst to him, I, the almighty Dennis, have amassed an arsenal of terrifying power. The enemies of my master shall quake in fear at the sight of my numerous transformations, each more powerful than the last. I am immortal. I am infinite. I am eternal. Wily will notice me. Please notice me, Wily. It's so freaking adorable. I love it. Oh, when I burst into fucking laughter when I reacted to that one the first time. That one was such a good one. There we go. It's just such a funny moment. Like Dennis. Just Dennis. Everything about Dennis is special. So now we get to a rather, I wouldn't say interesting bit, I would say more infamous bit, if anything. Let's just say things are going to get a little bit difficult once we jump across here, because there's one of these fan enemies, and I'm not the biggest fan of them, I won't lie. But we managed to scroll them off screen, and I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm going to take it and run. Also, yeah, you can't actually summon Rush kind of properly when there's missiles in the way. Apparently, Rush and missiles don't mix. Who would have guessed? But if we head down here, we got one of these guys, you know, because we've been fighting these guys all level. And away we go. And right over there, that little weird little pixel art that looks a bit like Gallagher is actually the boss. Interestingly enough, but it's like a really far away sort of boss. And we're almost at the end now. Almost there, but... yeah, it's an air devil. I did not react well to this the first time I saw this. I reacted very poorly. But luckily, he has the exact same pattern each time he moves, so he's extremely easy to learn. Which, you know, that's the only good thing about devil enemies, is that, you know, as long as they have the exact same pattern, you can learn them and you can deal with them. And he's not actually that difficult. If you've got the full charge shot and you've got the charge buster, the charge buster upgrade, really, he shouldn't be too much of trouble. Like, I'm pretty sure he's like 2 hits away from death for me now. Just got to avoid not getting hit by anything else. There we go. And the energy element goes flying. Okay, goodbye. Instead, though, if we approach the energy element very slowly... yep, it gets taken by those guys, and I'm shook. Alright, so just to make sure, we got all five noble nickels. Yep, we got the 2 at the start, the 1 on the launch, the 1 from Dennis, and the 1 on that thing. Yep, we've got all the noble nickels. Now it's time for Launch Man and Shuttle Man. Yeah, this is a 2-person boss. Yeah, this is a thing. So, it feels kind of hectic, but actually, they have the exact same pattern no matter what the level is. So basically, you want to target the small one first. The small one is the easiest one to get, and because they have the same pattern, they're pretty easy to defeat. I'm not the biggest fan of how they regain health when they're together, though, because that kind of just makes things a little bit tedious. However, as long as you know their pattern, they're really not that difficult in the slightest. But they are overwhelming to new-time players. I was very overwhelmed my first time. Won't lie. Interesting that you can hit him like that, I didn't realize. But once you take the smaller one out, the bigger one is laughably easy. So yep, now the small one's done, this guy will only focus on his main attack pattern, which is to just do this. Now he'll dive down, but the problem is, this attack is easy to dodge to begin with, and then he just restarts his pattern, so it's really just a case of now just taking him out. So once you get the small one done, it becomes one of the simplest fights in the game. Although I did shoot a little bit early there, so that was my fault. And again. And those things give you energy. I didn't even know that. That's great. And with that, that is the end of the level. It is such a good level, this one. I really like it. I think the fans kind of slow the pace down a bit. I'm not a big fan of the fan enemies, and I think the early screens were a little overcrowded, but I think that really works with the whole theme, because that's sort of what I think the player was, the creator was going for. But anyway, let's see what the judges had to say about Launch and Shuttle Man. Snow and Pyro, 41 out of 50. I think probably my biggest issue with this level is that it's too overwhelming for first-time players. There's a lot of enemies around, especially very bulky ones like power slams. I also don't really like the usage of shield attackers. They just feel like they were randomly placed and really don't pose much of a challenge, and they just seem like they're there to waste your time. And the bosses, while fun and really well done, were definitely very overwhelming, and it took a death for each to really figure them out. All that aside though, this level is really neat with its tech, and there was clearly a ton of love poured into this. The missiles, while not being the most original thing ever, are pretty neat and do help to spice up the gameplay, and once you do master the boss fights, they're a ton of fun, except for the air devil, which I found to be a bit dull. But that's basically every devil boss ever anyways. The crazy morphing Met guy got a big laugh out of me, and the launch sequence was super neat. Honestly, this level really just shines in how creative it is. It does a heck ton of neat things. The design isn't particularly strong though, so I can't really say it's perfect. I still personally really like it though. Juby Hornet, 40 out of 50. That was insane! I can tell that a lot of love and care was put into this level, especially the launch part. However, that boss was just too much, especially after an already long Air Devil mini-boss. It's a very hectic fight, and it's hard to dodge both bosses' attacks at once, especially since the bigger robot master, I think it's Shuttle Man, hits like a truck. There seems to be a pattern, but it's very difficult to learn without dying several times, because the battle moves so quickly. With the first mini-boss, the Air Devil and Launch Man Shuttle Man, I think you tried to do a bit too much in one level. Angel, 41 out of 50. Really fun stage. I love the little details like Launch and Shuttle Man flying in the background as you make your way through the sky, and I think the takeoff sequence is super cool and memorable. The level as a whole is occasionally pretty spammy with its enemies, but a lot of fun to play regardless. The mid-boss barrier is unfortunately already unlocked as you enter the room, but like the other bosses in the stage, he's a fun one to fight. Launch and Shuffle Launch and Shuttle themselves are pretty hectic, but after a cycle, it's pretty easy to remember their pattern. I like how they team up like that. If the difficulty was less abrupt and more slopey, I'm sure the stage would feel even better to play, but it's already a lot of fun. Guriri, 40 out of 50. This is a great level. The level design is very solid, but does contain somewhat high concentration of enemies at places. Despite that, it's a very fun stage, and I thought that the ideas behind it were really interesting. However, I did not like the last boss fight, considering how easy it is to die to them while fighting them. There are also a few bugs, but it's no big deal. It's an absolutely fantastic level, but I feel there's quite a few issues with this level that could have done without. Like what? Ace Spark, 48 out of 50. There are like two things wrong with this level. The screens can get overcrowded every so often, your combination of enemies towards the end of the stage is fairly questionable, and I think not enough of an effort was put to get the enemy set theme together. Recoloring enemies to match each other and perhaps replacing a few would have helped get the stage linking together better. The former is actually an issue, but the latter is a serious nitpick, because, let's face it, the stage is great. The gimmicks are simple but effective. They complement the level layout, and whilst you don't really do anything that clever with them, you do go beyond the minimum and hit a nice middle ground. If I felt this was a problem though, you make up for it with your boss battles. Are you a Treasure fan by any chance? Because your boss fights take what is an above average stage, and, to excuse the pun, rocket it out of the arena. All four of them were great, I'm counting Dennis Hart. Very creative, and just a whole lot of fun. They hit the perfect balance of challenge, neat attacks, and flair. Your Robot Masters, I fell in love with. Not only would I want to see this stage in an official Capcom title, I think this actually beats most Capcom stages. I'm gonna have to disagree there. I actually feel like the level design in this stage wasn't as strong as it was made out to be, particularly in the latter half of the stage. I wasn't the biggest fan of the airship segment. I feel like the fan was placed in a really awkward position, the shield attackers are a bit random, and the big nets, I don't know why, they just didn't really mesh with me. But I loved this stage's bosses, and I love this stage's theme. I just feel like the actual level design itself isn't something I could see myself wanting to play through again. But I really liked a lot of the bosses, I liked a lot of the Easter eggs, I liked Dennis, I thought a lot of the stage was really well designed. I will say this though, the sprite of Launch and Shuttle Man kind of going through the air when we're a few screens away from the boss, why is it blue when they're red and yellow? That's the only thing I have. That's literally the only thing I want to comment on. Unless that wasn't meant to be Launch and Shuttle Man and it's meant to be like Farah or something from Overwatch. I don't know. But overall, it was an interesting stage. Not my favorite, but you know, it was pretty solid and I really enjoyed the boss fight. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and in the next episode, we're going to take on the final stage that I have actually played before, and then we'll be back to blind stage runs. Exciting. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.